Welcome everyone to the Tom Colohue channels, both on YouTube and on Twitch, where today we are not only streaming a special Thursday show because I'm going to be unavailable this weekend, but where we are asking definitive, hard-hitting questions about where the hell is Sasha Banks? Primarily, where was she last week on Smackdown, but also questions about basically the whole damn thing, because my word, has she been disappearing and reappearing for a while now. If you're new to this channel, what we do here is I will cover a major piece of news to start off the show, even if it is just a little bit explorative, as it is sometimes. And then I will go on to question and answer. So any questions you ask, I will attempt to answer based on what I know so far. If it's important to you, it's important to me. And anyone who asks questions, I will endeavour to do the best I can to answer them. Welcome everyone. We already have quite a few people heading in. First message came on the YouTube video before we went live, and that's from Cy T saying, well, this is exciting. New subscriber here. For some reason, I didn't know you did Thursdays. To be fair, Cy, I rarely do Thursdays. I did a Thursday last week to sort of help smooth the algorithm. And then this week I'm doing Thursday purely because I will not be available this weekend. I'm having a long Valentine's Day weekend with my partner. So I will not be able to stream my usual Friday show or my usual Smackdown watch along. I'm also, to be blunt, considering the possibility of doing streams more often, because lately I've had a strong period of success, and if I can maintain that success should basically automatically elevate itself. We are very, very close to the 1,000 subscribers, basically is what I'm saying. Now I know there's a lot of interest in Sasha Banks, primarily because there is already 9 likes on this video and we've been going for 2 minutes. 9 likes in 2 minutes is a pretty damn good start. So I'll catch up with the chat and then we'll jump straight into the Sasha news. Wiggly says hi, Moxie says what's up. Wiggly says, anyone going to the WWE promo event tomorrow at Wembley? Let Wiggly Tough know if you are going to the promo event tomorrow. Rob says, well, it's handsome man Tom Day. Oh, thank you, Rob, I do appreciate that. Wiggly says, I'll live a few stops from Wembley, so I'll swing by to see Bianca Belair. That's cool, take some pictures, man, would love to see it. Spiderboss says, hi Tom, is WWE still looking for an opponent for Sasha? Or has Sasha gone to Hollywood? I will give you more information on that shortly, Spiderboss, just as soon as I've caught up with the chat. Dimitar says, hi Tom. Hey Dimitar. Jermaine says, hi Tom as well. I hope you're having a great day. Had a really good day so far. A really good day. There'll be more news on that later once we've gone through the news. Moxie says, Tom, if WWE give Oldberg the belt, I will lose my shit. WWE have no intention of giving the belt. Goldberg. Deshaun is here, welcome. Max says, hi Tom, man, I was wrong that 2022 will be Sasha's year. Unfortunately, Max, you were, but we came really close. You don't believe how close we came. Bro says, hi Tom. I have a few questions, but for now, will Sasha Banks have a Mania Wrestlemania moment this year? News on that is coming in just a moment. And Jaden says, I subscribed to 7 different accounts. Jaden, I applaud that initiative. You have no idea how close we are to hitting that 1,000. No idea. Well, you do, actually, it's right there. It's right there in front of you. We are incredibly close to hitting that 1,000, and with our watch time as well, we are just round the corner from monetization. Auto-Generate says, hi Tom as well. Welcome, Auto-Generate. So, the big news of the day is as regards Sasha Banks. Firstly, of course, where is she? And are there any plans for her to feature at the Elimination Chamber? I've reached out, I've asked questions. I'm not getting the strongest of answers. I'm just going to be blunt with you. I'm not getting the strongest of definitive answers. From what I can tell at the moment, Sasha Banks is not planned to be at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. She has basically been told she's not needed. Though that could change, because the WWE still wants to do Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks. We have Charlotte Flair versus Naomi this week on SmackDown, with a view to having a rematch of Charlotte Flair versus Naomi in Saudi Arabia for Elimination Chamber. But there is a reason that Charlotte Flair was specifically told to mention Sasha Banks during the segment last week with Ronda Rousey. The WWE essentially does not entirely trust the fan reaction to Sasha Banks not being used in a championship match at WrestleMania. So they're trying to gauge whether the fans are actually interested enough that they will try and force it. Much as they have done in the past with, for example, Daniel Bryan, where John Cena specifically challenged Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam and just listened to the crowd chanting his name. When the crowd start to go nuts for Sasha, the WWE will listen. And the WWE still wants to do Sasha versus Charlotte. It was planned for WrestleMania. it is no longer planned for WrestleMania, and it is now likely to happen after WrestleMania, because from what I can tell, if there's going to be a SmackDown Women's Championship match, it'll be Charlotte versus Naomi. Plans for Charlotte versus Sasha have essentially been shelved for the time being. This does not mean that Sasha Banks is not going to be involved at WrestleMania because, as I say, the WWE are paying a lot of attention right now to fan reception. Essentially, if you keep chanting, if you keep shouting, if you keep going nuts, people will be paying attention within WWE. Welcome, Megan. Thank you, Stat Queen, for the raid. Welcome to the show. Hope you've had a good stream. For anyone who doesn't know, Megan is a fellow streamer. Streams games. I've seen Sims. I've seen Star Wars Battlefield. I think it's Battlefield, is it? I don't think it's Battlegrounds. Battle something. So always worth a good checking out. As regards Sasha Banks, the WWE still, at this time, do not know what match they will give her for WrestleMania. When it comes to a WrestleMania moment, it really depends on that choice. The WWE intend to give her a win. The intention was for Sasha Banks to defeat Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania to give Sasha her big moment, essentially as a thank you to Sasha for what she did with Bianca Belair this time last year. Well, that time last year, I should say. The WWE right now, not intending to continue that. Ronda Rousey has stepped in and taken that opportunity. To be clear, Ronda Rousey is not the reason the match between Sasha and Charlotte isn't happening. The WWE are the reason that the match between Sasha and Charlotte isn't happening. Vince McMahon and others backstage in the WWE have decided we've got to go with the money. The money, at the moment, in their eyes, is Ronda Rousey. Sasha Banks was expected to be at Smackdown on Friday. She is listed as an active wrestler. However, come the last segment, she was no longer there. Charlotte Flair made reference to this under specific instruction. She was specifically told to mention Sasha Banks. However, at this point, the WWE are not 100% sure that Sasha will 1. Make WrestleMania, and 2. Be willing to wrestle at WrestleMania. Sasha, for her part, is apparently more than happy with her lot and plans to keep being involved, but does sort of intend to whip up the fervour a little bit, as it were, in the attempt to get that championship match. Sources indicate that Sasha Banks was very excited to have the WrestleMania match against Charlotte. She was very much looking forward to picking up the win, and she is very disappointed that that moment is no longer on the WWE's agenda. Let's catch up with the chat. For everyone who has joined us, please remember to hit like on the YouTube video, ask your questions, and I will attempt to answer every one that I possibly can. The greater engagement, the better on these shows, so I try and answer as much as possible. Don't be afraid to ask the same question a couple of times. If I haven't already answered it, I will still read it. I'll just skip past it. And yeah, if you can say hi on Twitch as well, I'd be very, very grateful, because we are still looking for followers there as well. The focus right now is on YouTube. If you can hit that thumbs up, I'd very much appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so, and follow that up with a hit of the notification bell. So let's see what we've got. Spiderboss says WWE used pre-taped reactions when Ronda and Charlotte were on TV. They did. The WWE are intentionally sweetening Ronda's audio because Ronda Rousey is not getting face reactions. She's not getting heel reactions, though she is leaning into those. In fact, she's getting no reaction at all, which is the worst possible thing as a wrestler to get. Rob says, so Tom, I see that Seth, possibly Becky, Sonya, Sasha Banks and others are in LA. Is there Mania conference going on this week? I don't know if Roman is there. When you look at the list of people there, Rob, you see Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Sonya Deville. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are both Raw. Sonya Deville is on both, and her story with Naomi is sort of ended, as it were. Sasha Banks is on SmackDown. So she's off doing duty as the Hollywood mainstream star. It makes it unlikely that we'll be seeing her for SmackDown, doesn't it? It really does. It really does. So, missing in action such as I have mentioned here on the title of this video, very much accurate for Sasha Banks. She is cleared to wrestle. Her injury they are keeping an eye on. They are intending to protect her in many ways by keeping her in tag matches and the like, and not using her too often on live shows, but she is cleared to wrestle. Spider-Boss says, fans chanted, "We want Sasha," but WWE used pre-taped reactions. There was a brief, Sasha Banks chant, but it was real. It wasn't hidden. The WWE let them actually get the chant in, and it wasn't as big as they were hoping for. Hey Michael, how you doing, man? Megan says, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the one I have. Thank you, Megan, for the clarification on that. Sean says, hi Tom, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. Did you see the report from Fightful Select that Boogeyman signed with WWE? Is it a Legends contract? No idea. I genuinely have no news on this one. It's confusing, I'll tell you that. Boogeyman. If he was going to come back, surely it would be for the Rumble. Who knows? Simon says the triple threat will happen. Hashtag Bosch. Hashtag Boss. Hashtag Boss Movement. Hashtag Sasha Mania. It is not impossible. To be clear, the WWE are open to the possibility, though right now Sasha Banks is not booked for a championship match in any way, shape or form. You can make it happen. Do not go quietly. David Leary, welcome. Says, Blair Davenport injury, real or kayfabe? Real, 100% real. Sai T says, am I reading too much into Matt Hardy's walkout through the crowd mid-match yesterday? Shivani called it erratic. Was this a pointer to Jeff Hardy, or was it just an unbelievable coincidence? This was 100% an indication of the impending Jeff Hardy arrival into AEW. If you've been following this channel for a while, then you'll be fully aware that Jeff Hardy is intending to sign with AEW. AEW are more than happy to get Jeff Hardy signed, and he should be in action in no time. Also, to be fair, when we spoke about the person arriving in AEW through the Forbidden Door, I was very clear that it was Keith Lee. It was Keith Lee. Though as Sean says just afterwards, Tom will love this. Jay White walked through the Forbidden Door to AEW. Jay King White. The Switchblade has arrived. It's almost enough to get me watching religiously. I just can't, stay up until 3 a.m. on a Thursday morning. But it would be so good though, because Jay White's there. Jay White. Oh. Matthew Ham, welcome, says, who is the sixth entrant in the Women's Chamber? Asuka is the most likely person to be the sixth person. Is the most likely person to be the sixth woman in the Elimination Chamber match at Elimination Chamber. For anyone who isn't fully aware, that match was reported ahead of time by only one person. That would be myself. The day before it was announced, including all 5 participants, and the WWE aren't sure yet. Bro, welcome, says, will Becky Lynch turn face after WrestleMania 38? If not, when do you think / believe she will? She will turn face after WrestleMania 38, but it will be some time after WrestleMania 38. The intention is for Becky Lynch to lose to Bianca Belair, and then lose to a number of others. For example, Liv Morgan, who she believes that she owes a loss to. There's a number of others, such as Asuka, for example. JQ James, welcome to the show. Says, Sasha's possible WrestleMania moment is taken away by backstage politics. What else is new? Sadly, not much. Sadly, that's a story that we're all very familiar with. Sasha Banks was due to have that moment against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. That moment is no longer happening. I think we can all agree that that sucks. To be blunt, when it comes to Sasha Banks, if you're big on the Sasha Banks news, please do consider subscribing here, because let me run you through the Sasha Banks news that I've broken here on this channel that nobody else has broken. When she left for a period, after the loss of the Tag Team Championship to the Iconics at WrestleMania 35, I want to say, a lot of different sites were reporting about Sasha Banks getting walking out of her contract, leaving the company, trying to leave entirely. I was the guy who reported, no, she's taking a mental health break, Vince McMahon is fine with it. SummerSlam last year, I'm the guy who reported she's not going to be at the Go Home show, she hasn't been booked for it, the WWE know she will not be appearing there, and of course at SummerSlam. I was called a liar by some big names for that. Shortly afterwards, Becky Lynch confirmed it to one of the people who called me a liar. That was funny. In addition to that, there's a number of other news I break. For example, the fact that Becky Lynch was returning at SummerSlam. Day before SummerSlam, I reported that one. Once again, called a liar. And then she arrived. So, if you're a fan of Sasha Banks, if you want the breaking news, please do remember to hit subscribe and hit the like button as well to share the news. I have seen quite a few people sharing the news on Twitter, putting me over, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you to so many of you. Be aware, like a few of you have already encountered that sometimes people are determined to come after you if you do that. For example, Michael, I know you've already had an encounter with one account that just seemed determined to ignore the fact that what you were saying was proven true about me, but they didn't want to hear it. The user says, hi mate. Hello, the user. How the devil are you? J Poet, welcome. Says, is Sasha to the point where they don't fully trust her because of the history of injuries? This is something that does happen to the WWE, and it's one of the prime reasons that Samoa Joe was fired by the company. They simply did not trust him to take the big moments, the championships, and so on and so forth. They just didn't think he had any chance of carrying on. This has also been true in the past of Alexa Bliss, who picked up a number of different concussions in a very short period of time, and since then the WWE has protected her a lot more. Less wrestling matches, more gimmicked stuff, and so on and so forth. When it comes to Sasha Banks, we are not quite there. However, a foot injury is nothing new to Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks, I believe, missed the Royal Rumble in 2020 due to an injury to her foot, much like she very nearly did in 2022. Moxie says, besides Drew, who do you think the WWE will book to beat Reigns? I genuinely think it's only Drew at this point. I think he's the only person even close. I still would love to see Shinsuke Nakamura in that spot. I just don't think I'm going to. Simon says, well, I don't know. Put the D-Bry super over babyface triple threat in the match. The WWE don't always want to do that. To be blunt, the WWE did not want to put Daniel Bryan in the Daniel Bryan position. They didn't. They absolutely did not want to do that. Honestly, Triple H was a deciding factor there. Michael says, I don't think Sasha is really needed till after the Chamber. I agree. I definitely agree. I think Smackdown needs the star power a little bit of at least making some sort of backstage vignette or some sort of appearance. I think that might be beneficial. When it comes to the actual Elimination Chamber, no need to go near. No need whatsoever. Sasha Banks can steer clear and basically just stay out of the whole mess that is the Saudi Arabia shows. The user said, did you like the Mox and Punk interactions last night? Honestly, haven't seen it, the user. I don't watch AW2 regularly. I try to catch what I can. I'm certainly very excited by the arrival of Jay White. Everyone needs a knife pervert or two. But unfortunately, I can't watch it too regularly because I work for a living and I'm in the UK. So it's on until 3 a.m. and I start work at 8 a.m. You don't get any sleep. It doesn't work. Auto-generate says, do you see Sasha Banks breaking through the forbidden door? She's been teasing it of late. No, I don't see her doing that. She's very loyal to the WWE. At least for now. It would take a few more big problems for her to decide to walk away. Just a few more. Spider-Boss says he's going to be the sixth woman in the chamber. Asuka is the likely favourite. Moneymaker says, how do you keep someone of Sasha's star power off the TV and not have a match for her at WrestleMania? Once again, she does have a match at WrestleMania. They just haven't got it planned out as to who it's going to be against yet. She will be wrestling at WrestleMania. When it comes to staying off TV, I'm not entirely sure the WWE have made the decision to keep her off TV. I think Sasha Banks may have made the decision to keep herself off TV. Moxie says, who is the best heel in pro wrestling right now? AW and WWE. I would say Roman or MJF. Moxie, have you watched a lot of New Japan? Breathe with the switchblade. Jay White's my guy. I'm hyped for his arrival. Dimitar says, have you heard of any possible opponents for Sasha, legend or someone else? A couple of possibilities. There was the interest in Trish Stratus versus Sasha Banks. There's certainly interest in Shayna Baszler versus Sasha Banks. Outside of that, they're still batting names around. Hey KJ, how you doing, mate? Tommy B says, AEW seems like NXT 3.0 at this point. No reason to watch AEW, I can just watch NXT on the WWE network to watch them. There are certainly a lot of names that came from NXT, but I do think there's a lot of names that certainly didn't. MJF is a great example there of someone that they are developing. Now, there are a lot of similarities, sure, but they're doing very different things with them. Matthew Ham says, any update on WrestleMania plans? Nothing further has been formalised at this point, at least that I've heard. They are still batting a few ideas around to try and see what matches make the most sense. Michael says, came in late. Is Sasha at least having a Mania match? Yes, she is. Sasha Banks is planned for a WrestleMania match. They just don't know what that match is going to be. The WWE have every intention of keeping Sasha Banks on the card as much as possible. We currently have 52 viewers watching across both platforms. If you are new to the Twitch, please consider hitting that follow button. It will mean you get a notification every time we go live. And if you're currently watching the YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up. That little like button can make a massive difference. We have less than half the number of likes compared to viewers, and it would be a big help. So please do consider hitting like if you can. Of course, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do that also. You will get more Sasha Banks news as we get closer to WrestleMania. And of course, more news on other topics, such as, for example, it's just hit the headlines that AEW are letting people away from their contracts. I've been talking about that for over a month. David Leary says, Sasha versus Trish at WrestleMania 38 depends on Trish Stratus's availability. She's a movie star now, after all. KJ says, all Jay did was show up backstage, and Khan said he only got White because he mistyped his tweet. Keith Lee wasn't a Forbidden Door move, so according to him, he brought over White to fulfill the Forbidden Door tweet. Pay the man everything. Everything. If you can keep Jay White, keep Jay White. That is the only thing I will say on that topic. If you can keep him, do everything you possibly can. He is worth it. Bro says, sorry if I keep asking questions. No need to be sorry. This is an Ask Me Anything stream. The more questions you ask, the longer this show can go, the higher our chat rate, the more people come in. Literally by asking questions and chatting away, even just by saying hi to each other, that I saw a couple of people do earlier, you're upping the chat rate, you're making the show more advertised. That's one of the main reasons why we're now on 55 viewers. Says, I have a few. If Becky versus Ronda is a plan for the main event of Night 1 next year, how will we get there? Is Ronda champ until then? Will Becky win the Rumble? There's a lot of different possibilities. I cannot sit here now and say anything is guaranteed because it's not. Ooh, we have another troll. Timeout. We cannot sit here and say anything is guaranteed, so I can't say this is what's going to happen a year from now. I just can't. Also, I wouldn't say it's going to be the main event of Night 1. I'd say it's going to be the main event. It is the only thing that can compete with Roman Reigns for that spot right now. Wiggly says, do you see Sasha Banks leaving WWE? Yes, everyone does, eventually. Max says, is WWE not afraid that Sasha is going to leave the company next year after this treatment? They are not. The WWE continue to be confident that Sasha Banks is happy, and the main reason they believe that is because Sasha Banks keeps telling them that she is happy. Rob says, at this point and time, I believe Sasha is still considered one of their top stars and extremely valuable to the company. Ronda is the money, like you said, so I get it business-wise. I understand from a business perspective why this is happening. I understand. However, I also don't understand from a storyline perspective. This is the thing. The WWE's target audience is not wrestling fans. It isn't. It's casuals. It's people who know about wrestling, will spend money on merch for their kids, but really have no interest in the actual wrestling as a sport. The less interest they have, the better as far as the WWE is concerned. It's not a bad situation to be in. Ronda is the smart business investment for now, but it's very temporary. Very temporary. Sasha, there's your future. Badaboss says, if Sasha wrestles at WrestleMania, who would likely be her rival? As I've said, there's a number of names being batted around. Trish Stratus' name has come up. Shayna Baszler's name has come up. They're all just names at the moment. Sean says, did you see that RVD said he was able to make an appearance at the Royal Rumble? The WWE did not reach out to RVD, had no interest in bringing him in, apparently. Jermaine says, Melina is asking WWE for a match with Sasha Banks. She will not get it. And Mickie James is asking for a match against Sasha Banks too. Also will not get it. The WWE brought them in for the Royal Rumble. They don't believe that Melina is ready to wrestle a full program. And at the same time, they don't believe that Mickie James is best for business because it's the wrong company. Kevin, welcome to the show, says Sasha has to have her moment next year then. You say that, but they said that last year. Rob says, I don't think at this point I'll ever say Vince McMahon or Nick Khan don't value Sasha as a top star. Oh no, absolutely correct. The WWE in general is really behind Sasha Banks, but every time they get an opportunity to prove it, they turn in another direction. Wiggly, you're not hearing rumours that Goldberg will win the belt. You're hearing what Bully Ray said for his fantasy booking. There are no rumours. It's just people re-reporting what Bully Ray said he would like to happen. Spider Boss says, if Ronda is money, why don't fans care about Ronda now? Hardcore fans that pay tickets and go to arenas, don't care. Again, casuals do. The WWE target audience of Ronda Rousey is people who do not watch wrestling. Wiggly says, I hope Asuka returns soon. About a week, mate. Jay says, I remember rumours about Becky in Marvel. Is WWE the reason why she possibly can't do it? Because they won't accept her offers. If there was an offer from Marvel for Becky Lynch, the WWE would bite the hand that feeds as quickly as possible. They would dive on it as quickly as possible. Abdurrah says, what are the chances for a triple threat match to happen at WrestleMania between Sasha versus Melina versus Mickie James? 0. Spider-Boss says, have Sasha versus Melina at Mania would be cool. Once again, the WWE simply do not believe that Melina is ready for a full match or a full program. Wiggly apparently wasn't amused by the Forbidden Door unveilings. I think Keith Lee's a very good signing, and I'm very excited for Jay White, as you well know. The user says, I'm in the UK as well, so I see what you mean with staying up late for shows, and now I'm very glad pay-per-views are on Saturdays. Me too. Having a full day to recover after the Royal Rumble was a game changer, an absolute game changer. I was very, very happy to have that time off. Michael says, I wanted Keith Lee and Jay White in AEW so bad. 2-in-1 show was a great show. Tony Khan did everything that he possibly could to get that rating up. It didn't go up that much. AEW is starting to really struggle with that retention rate. And we've been talking about the retention rate here for a long time. A long, long time. And it continues to be the main problem that AEW are facing. Jermaine says, hey Tom, I really hope WWE don't do title for title at WrestleMania. Me too. I don't want to see it. I don't think anyone benefits from it. And I don't think... I think basically both brands will suffer if we only have one unified champion. Bro says, is Sasha leaving for Hollywood soon? How about Becky Roman? No idea. Absolutely no idea. I have no information on what Hollywood is offering to any of them. Tommy B is saying, I really hope we get the AJ versus Edge Mania match. It is under consideration at the moment. It is not a hard and fast rule, as it were. They are not determined to make it happen. However, Edge and AJ are determined to make it happen, and I suspect they will get their way. Dimitar says, so what? Did she simply go home last Friday? She was there before the end of the show. She was there before the end of the show, and then by the end of the show, she was not there anymore. Beyond that, I don't know. Moneymaker says they have Sasha teaming with Ronda at all the house shows in March. Yes, the reason that they are teaming together is simply because the WWE intends to have Sasha Banks endorse Ronda Rousey to try and get more people cheering for Rousey. It's the same way The Rock held up the hand of Roman at the end of the Royal Rumble. It's the same way we have people endorsing each other. Drew McIntyre endorsed, for example, Keith Lee when he first came up. That endorsement is supposed to be a big deal. I don't think the fans are going to buy it. Spider-Boss says, since WWE wants Sasha to have a match at Mania, at least WWE would give the win to Sasha. Hopefully so. Hopefully. But if it was Shayna Baszler, wouldn't Shayna benefit more? Hector, welcome, mate. Says, happy Thursday, Tom. I know I may be in the minority, but Keith Lee joining AEW didn't pop me because I saw it a mile away. Will we ever get back to debuts on other competitors and actual surprise, like the Monday Night Wars? Or social media outlets today, is that impossible? It's not impossible per se, but I get what you mean. The phrase social media outlets is a really good way of describing that. When it comes to Keith Lee joining AEW, I'm excited for it. I think it's a good signing. But yes, it was an obvious signing. Especially if you came in here and asked who it was, and I said Keith Lee. It was a no-brainer, really, to pick him up. Dimitar says, was it her decision to go home or was she sent home? No idea. Absolutely no idea. Spider-Boss says, with Ronda having no reaction from fans, what is that going to do to the WWE? Nothing. They will not change tactic at all until at least after WrestleMania, at which point they'll probably just turn Ronda heel. Once she's stopped working with Charlotte, there's no reason to keep her face. Jay Poet says, I hope Jay is still there when Omega returns. I promise you, Kenny Omega would put over Jay White as many times as need be. This has happened before, after all. Moneymaker says, are there any plans of Sasha and Bayley teaming up at WrestleMania for the tag titles? No plans at the moment because Bayley isn't even cleared to wrestle yet. They need to do that before they plan for her. David Leary says, Ziggler versus Champ happening on NXT? Possibly, hopefully. I don't necessarily know. There is, after all, as we know, a number of people who are on their way out of the company when it comes to NXT or straight to the main roster. Tommaso Ciampa is one of those who's being considered. So Dolph Ziggler doesn't really do anything for him, but Dolph Ziggler may do good things for Bron Breakker, for example. Tommy's talking about mods. There will be mods as we go. I'm just waiting for the right people who recognise the responsibility of the mod section. At the moment, I'm handling it well enough, I feel, and I've got Ed as well, who's here for most shows and is happy to pitch in and lend a hand. He's been very reliable for well over a year. But at the moment, I don't want people coming here for responsibility. I want people coming here and just having fun. But I'll continue to consider it and see the list of people on YouTube, see who's interested. Michael says, Sasha seems like someone who loves WWE, not just wrestling. And that is exactly true. Her connection with Vince McMahon is real. It is a real, genuine connection that isn't going anywhere soon, I'll tell you that. Sean says, will Charlotte versus Naomi main event SmackDown tomorrow or open the show? My hope is that it main events. It should main event. I mean, what was the point of all of this if not to put over Naomi? Here's an ideal opportunity to do so. Bro says, I misfaced Becky Lynch. Maybe she'll go on a losing streak before becoming the man again. Also, Bayley versus Becky at SummerSlam, hopefully. I do believe the likely situation, given what Becky Lynch keeps asking for, is that she will be losing the championship to Bianca Belair at WrestleMania and then losing to a whole load more people, which I'm fine with. Justin says, firstly, welcome Justin, how you doing? Says, hi Tom, how do you think the WWE title situation will go? Title versus title? No, I believe we are going to see Bobby Lashley retain in the Elimination Chamber and then go up against Seth Rollins. That's what I personally think is likely. Jermaine says, hey Tom, what match is going to replace Shane McMahon's match that WWE can really build up? Well, they need a new opponent for Austin Theory. That's all I'll say on that. JQ James says, what are Bayley's plans when she comes back? They need to wait to clear her before they make plans. I find it likely she'll be returning either at WrestleMania in the Battle Royal or the night after. Spider-Boss says, can Trish make it to Mania or is she still filming her movie? Nobody knows at this point in time. Nobody knows. Ed says, do you think Jay White is a needle mover for AEW? I think Jay White is a needle mover. I absolutely do, wherever he goes. However, AEW's retention rate does not lend itself to the idea that Jay White can be a needle mover. Basically, I don't think there are many needle movers in AEW just yet. Certainly not to the degree of a Roman Reigns or a Sasha Banks. Now, Simon has raised something here that we need to talk about that Ed sent me earlier. He says, Shane McMahon is still with the company apparently. Cultaholic Wrestling today mentioned that he had a WWE business deal today with a partnership for the South American rugby team called the Sharks. Now, to be clear, from what I can tell, Shane McMahon has not been removed from the WWE. Hasn't been. Now, the main reason for this is because he has no working contract, or he hasn't had a working contract for a long time. So he may have been dropped from WrestleMania, but he still has some ambassadorial duty. It shouldn't surprise people. He's still a McMahon, after all. Bro says, is Charlotte more likely to lose at WrestleMania or win? She will lose at WrestleMania. KJ says, as regards AEW, it went from 950k to 1.1 million. The tweet worked, it'll be back down next week. I suspect the same. I suspect it'll be slightly higher than the 950, but a couple of weeks from now we'll be going back down. Because of the amount of surprises we've had and the amount of hype that Tony Khan has delivered, I don't think we've had one honest rating from AEW, just of what you get You know? We'll see. Sean says, since Keith is in AW, how long until Mia is in AW? Not long. Montel, welcome to the show, says, hey Tom, is Ronda scheduled to appear at Elimination Chamber? At this point in time, no. There are apparently no plans for Ronda Rousey to appear at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, at least at the time of recording this stream right now. As usual, a lot can change. However, that's all I've heard on that one. Matthew Ham says, do you know of any other matches planned for WrestleMania besides Roman Brock and Charlotte Ronda? Becky Bianca, I believe Bobby versus Seth, and AJ versus Edge. Dimitar says, any plans for Drew at Mania? Right now I think a match with Corbin makes sense, even if it doesn't interest me much. The plan for Drew is Drew versus Corbin at WrestleMania. KJ says, I mean, Ronda gets good pops for her entrance. Can't get them to cheer during a promo other than dropping the B word. Why does the word bitch just get dropped like it's hot every single time in WWE? It's the one word they always go back to. Kevin says, is Ronda getting the title at Mania? If so, how are they going to do Sasha versus Charlotte for the title? They're not. They're just not. Ronda Rousey will get the championship at WrestleMania. Sean says, is Ziggler moved to NXT permanently or is it a one-off? If Dolph was moved to NXT, what will happen to Robert Roode? It was not a one-off, it was also not permanent. They are open to the idea of sharing a few more people across the different brands if need be, and they are very happy to do so. Rob says, I'm late, but I'm fun. You are fun, Robs. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the chat. And welcome. Just welcome. Moxie says, Tom, I think Seth will win, then face KO at WrestleMania. Not impossible, certainly a possibility, though they've gone that way before and pulled out at the last moment. Autogenerate says the Sasha Banks video package that was aired during the Royal Rumble live broadcast has now been replaced with that of Drew McIntyre's on the WWE Network version. Is this an attempt to diminish Sasha? Good question, because I have spotted that. Pardon me. I watched it again with my family. I always watch the Royal Rumble 3 times in total. Once with one section of the family and once with the other section of the family. So I was ended up watching the Royal Rumble 3 times, and I got to watch that Drew McIntyre vignette and thought to myself, hang on, what's going on here? Used to be something else here. The reason for that vignette, which was prepared very late in the day, was to sort of see off all the social media backlash the WWE was seeing from the Women's Royal Rumble. This is of course based around Sasha Banks being eliminated very early. It's not necessarily an attempt to diminish Sasha, it's more an attempt to hide what they did. Moneymaker says basically Sasha and Charlotte could have a no title feud after WrestleMania, maybe leading to a big match at SummerSlam. Yes, that is absolutely correct. This of course would lead to probably a win for Sasha Banks as expected, and then Sasha would move into a feud with Ronda Rousey. Jay says, will Becky go back to using the man after WrestleMania? Yes, because after WrestleMania you have the entire rest of history, and at some point she will be using it again. I can't say for certain when it's going to be, but at some point she'll go face again and the man will return. Alan says, the filming of Trish's movie is expected to last only 3 weeks. The director said it on Instagram. Thank you for bringing that news in, Alan. Spider-Boss says, is Charlotte putting over Sasha during this year? Probably. Probably. Hector says, with your analysis of AEW's viewership, what would you do to get the ratings up, or what advice would you give Tony Khan if you could? Nobody's going to like what I'm about to say. But it's a fact. Okay? It's a fact. The reason that AEW are struggling to retain viewers is that they don't appeal to casuals. They don't. If you tune into AEW, if I tuned in next week, I would have no idea what most of the storylines are. No idea. Whereas if you're watching WWE, they give you those really annoying recaps. If you watch every week, those recaps are annoying. If you don't watch every week, those recaps are vital so that you know what's going on. And so that you know what's going on and can then get invested in the story that's going on. AEW don't do that. This is a conscious decision. They only want to appeal to the hardcore wrestling fans. They want to appeal to their base. That's working. But it comes with a price. It means you don't get new viewers. You only keep the viewers you have. Which is why they only gain new viewers with potential surprises and lots of hype. But when they don't have that hype, the viewership goes down and down and down and down. Bro says, is Brock Lesnar winning in the Chamber? I know he never competed in one, but I don't see Brock losing again at Chamber and then at WrestleMania again. I don't believe Brock Lesnar will be winning at the Elimination Chamber. Jermaine says, I could see Sasha versus Shotzi or Sasha versus Shayna or Sasha and Aaliyah versus Zelina and Carmella for the tag titles. These are the only real options for Sasha at WrestleMania that I see, to be honest. I would put Sonya Deville there. I'd definitely mention her. But after that, I would absolutely leave it. Now, I just want to address something in the chat before I continue. There is someone who I haven't been mentioning. Firstly, because I don't want to read the name. And secondly, because literally every single thing they have said is based entirely on race. I put them in a timeout now. You guys may consider me racist for doing that. The fact that literally every single comment has been racial in intent is reason enough for me to put them in a timeout. Just want to be clear on that. If anyone disagrees, by all means speak up. I'm open to your opinions. However, that is a timeout for me because I simply do not trust, firstly, the name, because I don't want to read that, and secondly, the fact that literally everything is racial. Bro said, is there a chance we get Sonya versus Ronda? Eventually. By the way, hopefully they don't do another suspension angle. I'm tired of it. Brock is likely to be the next person suspended again after all. Matthew Ham says, will they do a gauntlet before the Elimination Chamber on Raw? Possibly. They do like to do that to determine who comes in last. They would have to do it twice because we have 2 Raw Elimination Chambers after all. However, I think it'd be a really good idea. You could have literally 2 hours of one gauntlet match, so an hour-long gauntlet match to start, an hour-long gauntlet match to finish, and then just a load of storyline crammed into the middle. I'd have fun with that. Moneymaker says, could Sasha versus Natty be a possibility for WrestleMania? Yes, everything is a possibility for Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. They haven't made a decision, they just want to get her into a match. Wiggly says, are there no Goldberg fans here? No, there are not. KJ says, Ziggler will go down and go back up, or do both, just like AJ and Riddle. Absolutely correct. Austin Palmito, welcome to the show, says, finally made it. Asuka or Bayley, that last spot? Asuka. Asuka is lined up for that last spot in the Elimination Chamber. Bayley has not been cleared to compete as of yet. J Poe says, I like Goldberg, but not when he's in the main event title match. Which is always, let's be fair, it's just always. This, by the way, has been a tremendously high audience for the show. We've gone up to a peak of 59 viewers at once, a peak on YouTube of 39 viewers, and 20 peaking on Twitch. If you're currently watching, please do consider hitting that thumbs up button. That like button can make a world of difference and can really help this channel grow. Also, if you've not done so, please consider subscribing as well. Every subscription goes towards our monetization fund, which will allow me to essentially try and make a living from doing this. Now, for anyone who uses tools such as Social Blade, you'll know that I will not be making a lot of money from YouTube. But it means that I don't have to make money from you, the viewer. The money will be made simply by people watching. And YouTube will advertise me more. Because of that monetization. Thank you very much, Wiggly, for gifting a sub in the chat to Mogsy. That is something you can do over on Twitch, gifting subs to fellow users. Now, once I am monetized, you will also be able to, if you would like, subscribe, become a channel member on YouTube. I set how much that costs, so I'm going to make a $1 option, and I'm going to make a $5 option. Just as a possibility for anyone who would like to give in that manner. So it opens a lot of possibilities, and I hope people will consider that once we are able to monetize. But in the meantime, please do hit that subscribe button, hit like as well. It is a big help in our growth. Michael says, Ric Flair is obsessed with Becky, and it is fucking bizarre. Yes, it is. I have my suspicions. Do you remember way back when? I think it was Royal Rumble 2016. Pardon me. I think it was Royal Rumble 2016. when Becky Lynch was taking on Charlotte Flair for the Divas Championship, and Ric Flair booked himself to kiss Becky Lynch. That's a lot more creepy now, and it was pretty creepy beforehand. Rob says, maybe I missed something, but couldn't some of the Sasha stuff simply be nursing her foot to make sure she's healthy as we approach Mania? Yes, absolutely it could. It absolutely could. There is every possibility that she was there on Smackdown and then left because she wasn't cleared to actually get physical. There is every possibility of that. There's a reason I'm saying I don't know why she wasn't there. Because ultimately, I don't. Jaden says, how do you go from big time Bex to the man? Very easily. You just stop fighting it. Thank you very much, Dog27, for your follow over on Twitch. I very much appreciate it. We are continuing to grow. 1 second, I'm being called a racist. And you're gone. When your name is that, you are the fucking racist. Anyway. You control all you want. You're just giving me engagement, just to be clear. I don't mind it. Yeah, you just stop fighting it. All you have to do with Big Time Bex is stop fighting it, call her the man, the fans will start cheering. That's all you need to do. Demon Tar says, any idea why Shotzi isn't being used for storylines? I know she's had many family problems and possible health problems. The reason being, yes, a certain lack of availability on her side, but also they just don't have a plan for her. They just don't have a plan. JJ says, in order to get Becky versus Ronda, Becky will be drafted to SmackDown. Or Ronda's drafted to Raw, which I personally find much more likely. KJ says, is a person on the YouTube chat. They were, yes. They're not anymore. You know, well done. You're a troll. Congratulations. Fuck off. Job done. It's not skin off my back. I'll just take the engagement. Spider-Boss says, would Ric Flair sue WWE if Becky uses the man gimmick? He would try. He would fail. Moneymaker says, it seems that WWE just likes to make Sasha fans mad. That genuinely may be the fact. Genuinely may be a fact. WWE, unfortunately, do like to gain that engagement by pissing people off. They're very good at it. Sean says, would a reality show like Survivor need permission to have a WWE wrestler on their show? And could they use their WWE name, or would that show have to use their real name? For example, if that show wanted Miz, could they use his name and need permission to use him? Many of that is a yes. They would need permission from the WWE for a wrestler to go on Survivor. However, if a wrestler was invited to go on Survivor, the WWE would say yes, 1,000 times yes. There is a reason that The Miz went on Dancing with the Stars and was called The Miz. The WWE want that mainstream element, and in order to do it, you've just got to let wrestlers leave the nest every now and then. Simon is saying, could Sasha be the sixth person in the chamber? Maybe the surprise. Saudi Arabia does love her. It's a possibility, it's just very, very unlikely. Asuka is still very much the front runner. Spider-Boss says, since WWE want Ronda versus Becky for WrestleMania 39, does that mean that Ronda may go to Raw in the draft? Yes, I found that the most likely way to get to that match. Alan says, I know it's still far away, but do you think Sasha could be an option to win Money in the Bank? Yes, she absolutely could be an option to win Money in the Bank. Jay Poe says, when Goldberg fought Dolph at SummerSlam, I thought that was a perfect use of him. Yeah, I completely agree. Just completely destroy people. Moneymaker says, will we ever get a Sasha versus Bayley match at WrestleMania? Hopefully it happens next year. There is no real plan to do that. Sasha Banks and Bayley, they keep pulling away from the match. They just keep pulling away. They've done it for years. They never build it properly, and it's a real shame. Wiggly says, Ric Flair's just creepy. So ironic, he got pissed at WWE because of the Lacey storyline, portraying him as a dirty old man. Ric Flair, to be blunt, Ric Flair did well in the Lacey Evans storyline. He's the only actual story they got was him on, I think it was Raw Talk? They call it Raw Talk? On Raw Talk. Megan, as always, clarifying our stat queen, saying it was the 2016 Rumble that Ric Flair kissed Becky Lynch. Not that you would know that, because apparently that moment has been cut from the network. It has. I was actually aware of that. It's one of many things that the WWE have looked back on and thought, you know what? Nah. David Leary says, would WWE ever bring in Jay White? Absolutely they would. If WWE had an opportunity to sign Jay White, they would do everything that they possibly could to make it happen. 100%. Jay White, however, not so interested. Hector says, do you see Brock sticking around after Mania? I'm not too sure how his contract is currently constructed. I personally think he's doing the best work of his career. He's just being him. I agree this is some of the best work of his career. After WrestleMania, I expect Brock Lesnar to quietly fade into the background for a while. And I expect we won't see him again until around SummerSlam. Autogenerate says, what do you think about the possibility of Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss as a tag team? They are a lot closer than they have been in the past. There was no real breakup, no real big bust-up. There was no real problem that I'm aware of. Certainly from the camp that I got the news from, there was no big problem. As far as I've been told, it was all massively blown out of proportion. The two get on great now. Get him in a wrestling ring together. Yes, Wiggly, Ric Flair is currently getting divorced, which is an unfortunate situation. Sean says, if Asuka can't make the chamber, who would be the next person to be the mystery woman? Zelina. Spider Boss says, Ronda wants to put over Shayna, but WWE doesn't trust in Shayna. WWE will trust in Shayna because Ronda will tell them that they have to. Ronda will get her way. Simon says, Hangman vs. Cole should be a tremendous feud for the AEW World title. It should be. It absolutely should be. They've got all the pieces needed to deliver a very high quality feud there. I don't see Cole winning. I think MJF will be our next AEW champion, but I do think it'll be another few months before that happens. The Hangman storyline took too long to get here to end here. Jay Quick, you alright, mate? Says, I know Tom was happy when Switchblade showed up. Tom was happy when Switchblade showed up. Tom has gone back and looked at that, I tell you that. I breathe with a Switchblade. I bleed with a Switchblade. I'm Switchblade ride or die. And I will be until I either get to ride or die. Alan says, if Ronda goes to Raw to face Becky, who could beat her for the SmackDown title? Becky. Other than that, probably Sonya. I would like it to be Sonya, but I do think Shayna is the champion after Ronda in some way. Matthew Ham says, are they planning to do Riddle versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania? The WWE right now are trying to work out if RK Bro has run its course. Because to be blunt, right now, RK Bro has not run its course. RK Bro is still a very thrilling, exciting tag team that a lot of people want to watch and a lot of people want to work with. So why would they break them up at this point if they can still make money from them? If the merch for RK Bro keeps flying out the doors, they'll keep them together. Jermaine says, I could see Sasha Banks versus Ronda 2 happening at SummerSlam. There will definitely be a Sasha Banks versus Ronda 2 before either of them get drafted. Once again, it's not just that the WWE want it, it's that Ronda wants it, and Ronda gets what Ronda wants. Simon says, RK Bro versus SKO Owens Rollins tag team titles perhaps. I have mentioned that in the past before as a potential Mania match. Of course, neither of those teams are the tag team champions right now. Dimitar says, 4 Horsewomen Fatal 4-Way next year? No. They need to do it before someone leaves or Tyler gets pregnant. I know Sasha and Charlotte won't. That's very personal, Dimitar. Very personal. Not going to go into that. There is no intention to do a 4 Horsewomen Fatal 4-Way. Main reason being that they don't want to see all 4 Horsewomen on one brand, because that will leave the other brand with no real female star power comparative. Sean says, do you think Moxley will be a 2-times AEW World Champion? Yes, eventually. Tommy says, RK Bro versus a New Day at Mania would be money. That is how RK Bro started, to be fair. Just under a year ago, right after last year's WrestleMania. Moneymaker says, any plans for Sasha and Bayley versus Bella Twins at some point? At some point is a really, really wide question. So, maybe. I don't know. J Power says, is WWE done with Knoxville, or could they do more with him and Sammy? Once again, if they continue to make money from the Knoxville deal, they would do so. However, Jackass Forever is out now, and the WWE aren't getting paid anymore for Johnny Knoxville's involvement. So probably they'll move on. Bro says, will we see a 4 Horsewoman Fatal 4 win the main roster? No. Matthew Ham says, when will the Naomi-Sonya feud end? Will it be at WrestleMania? Probably. Before the Royal Rumble and at the Royal Rumble was supposed to be like the end of it, quote unquote. However, that did not happen. So they are just continuing to go for it. This is a good opportunity for Naomi, of course. The whole hope is that Naomi will get really seriously over from this. But it's taking its time. It's taking its time. Spider-Boss says, knowing Vince, he will change his mind before putting the title on Shayna. Yep, every possibility that will happen. Ronda will get her way, though. Michael says, do you think Tegan will sign with AEW? I actually don't. I think AEW are going to have to stop signing people soon. They have no choice. They have to stop signing people soon. So I do think the moment will come, and I think, unfortunately, Tegan is on the outside looking in on that one. KJ is asking questions about a replacement for Shane. I think Finn Balor will get a WrestleMania match, and the only reason he will get a WrestleMania match is because Shane is no longer available to take on Austin Theory. Also says, will Cena make Mania this year? Possibly, but not in a wrestling capacity. Rob says, Switchblade shows up and is immediately no less than top 2 heel in that company, and doing so on what's basically a day pass. Yep. Switchblade, mate. Jay White. It's all you need. All you need is a bit of Jay White. Just changes everything. Moneymaker says, will Io ever get called up? Yes. Dimitar says, do you ever see Sasha being drafted to Raw? Yes. Sean says, does Ronda cost Charlotte the title, or does Sonya cost Naomi the match? I would say it's more likely that Sonya costs Naomi, because Naomi will not be winning. But I think it's very possible as well that there is some sort of bullshit finish, and we end up with Charlotte versus Naomi at the Elimination Chamber. That is something they are trying to make happen. The WWE want 3 women's matches in Saudi Arabia. 3. That'd be Becky Lynch versus Lita, the Women's Elimination Chamber, and they want Charlotte versus someone. Charlotte versus Naomi makes a lot of sense. Bro says, is Asuka going to be a face or a heel? They are hoping she will be a face. Hoping. Hector says, I know this may be an unpopular option, but a lot of these wrestlers who were released or let go and are now in AEW aren't really utilised as much as most would think. I was a huge fan of Alistair, Andrade and Ty Dillinger in WWE, but their AEW careers haven't been that exciting. I do agree with a number of them. Malachi Black, not that exciting to me. He didn't do much that I've seen. Miro's been okay. He's been okay. Oh look, the racist's back. The racist is back. Wow. There's surely nothing I can do about the racist. Oh, what do I... Oh, he's gone. That's a shame. Such a shame. It's like you're just confirming the dickheadry. Anyway, bye. Miro has done some good stuff. I'm not very happy with what Andrade's been doing in AEW. I haven't heard anything about him for a long time, so... I think their roster is way too deep. It's too deep. AEW, it's too deep. Spider-Boss says, if Shayna becomes champion at SummerSlam, does she drop the title to Sasha or Charlotte? No idea. There is way too much going on in the future. You're asking me for a prediction of something that, one, happens 6 months in the future at best, and then what happens however many months after that. Gotta calm down with that, guys. Michael says, I'm ready for the Briscoes versus FTR. Oof. Stop talking dirty to me. Matthew Ham says, Edge versus AJ Styles set for WrestleMania. No. Auto Generous says, do you think the women's division in WWE currently has more stars than the men's? No. Bro says, what's the point of WWE doing piped in noise? It's annoying when you want to listen to a real crowd. Hiding the fact that there isn't any actual noise going on unless they pipe it in. KJ says, I've seen someone say this is not 100% sure, but the SmackDown Women's Championship hasn't been defended on pay-per-view since Crown Jewel. Yeah. Yeah. So get it on there. They're trying. Spider-Boss says, personally, I'm not a fan of Andrade El Idolo. I think that his lack of English doesn't help him to be a main eventer. And that is something that the WWE thought as well. That one of the reasons they couldn't push him as high as they wanted to, or one of the reasons they didn't push him as high as they said they wanted to, was the lack of English. Personally, I don't think there's a particular problem with a relatively mute person taking the top spot. Look at Braun Strowman. Sean says, possible we'll get Alexa versus Becky, but not for the championship. Yeah, at some point, definitely. Matthew Ham says they're still planning Edge versus AJ Styles if it is not set. It is still under consideration. AJ wants it, Edge wants it, the WWE are not sure. And that is a full hour and a full show. Oh, they've come over to Twitch, where it's even easier to ban you. I don't understand. But well done on actually looking. Well done on investing and actually looking. Well done you. Ah, you've derailed nothing. Bless. That has been a full hour of show on the Tom Colohue channels. I will not be back until Monday. So no Sunday show, no Friday show, no watch along for Smackdown. I will need to do some catching up when I do return. But I'm essentially at this point off for Valentine's Day. Looking forward to having a 4-day weekend and I cannot wait. Little bit of news before I go. The promotion is finalized. The promotion is finalized. That means I'm getting more than a $6,000 pay raise. Most of that is going straight into this show because I want to do this full time. So I'm more than happy to spend money to make money. That's the plan. And hopefully I'll be able to do a lot more when it comes to wrestling shows and a lot more from there. Wiggly, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you understand. But I appreciate the congratulations. Really do appreciate that. And Jermaine saying have a good night. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for hitting like. We've got 24 likes. If you haven't liked yet, please do round it out with a thumbs up so that people know to watch the video after this. But in the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.